The year is 1961, a time of great change and monumental achievements. The world is on the brink of a new era, with technological advancements and scientific discoveries reshaping our understanding of the universe. The world watches in awe as Yuri Gagarin becomes the first human to journey into space, orbiting the Earth and marking a significant milestone in human history. Meanwhile, in a quiet basement lab at Yale University, another kind of exploration is taking place. This one delves into the depths of human behavior and psychology, the Milgram Experiment. Conceived by psychologist Stanley Milgram, this experiment was designed to study obedience to authority. It would soon become one of the most famous and controversial studies in the history of psychology. The findings of the Milgram experiment revealed a disturbing truth about human nature. It showed our willingness to obey authority figures even when it meant inflicting pain and suffering on others. The experiment demonstrated that ordinary people, when placed in certain situations, are capable of committing extraordinary acts of cruelty. It was a sobering revelation about the darker aspects of human nature. This groundbreaking study forced society to confront a difficult and uncomfortable question. Why do good people sometimes do bad things? What drives them to act against their own moral beliefs? The answer, as we shall explore, lies in the complex interplay between our individual conscience and the powerful influence of authority. It is a dynamic that continues to shape human behavior to this day. Stanley Milgram, a young social psychologist at Yale, was driven by a desire to understand the Holocaust. How could an entire society participate in such atrocities, he wondered. Milgram was skeptical of the idea that Germans were inherently more susceptible to blind obedience. He believed that anyone, regardless of their background, could be capable of similar acts under the right circumstances. Milgram designed his experiment to test this theory. He wanted to see if ordinary Americans, when placed in a situation where they were ordered to inflict pain on another person, would obey those orders. The results of his experiment would shock the world and change our understanding of human behavior forever. Milgram's experiment was deceptively simple. Participants, recruited from the New Haven community, were told they were participating in a study about learning and memory. They were introduced to another participant who was actually a confederate of the experimenter. The real participant was assigned the role of teacher and the confederate the role of learner. The teacher was then taken to a separate room and seated in front of a shock generator. The generator had a series of switches, each labeled with a voltage ranging from 15 volts to 450 volts. The teacher was instructed to administer an electric shock to the learner each time the learner gave a wrong answer on a memory test. With each wrong answer, the voltage of the shock was to be increased. The results of the Milgram experiment were shocking, both literally and figuratively. Before the experiment began, Milgram asked a group of psychiatrists to predict what percentage of participants would be willing to administer the highest shock level of 450 volts. They estimated that less than 1% of participants would go all the way. They were wrong. In reality, 65% of participants administered the highest shock level. This meant that 2/3 of the participants were willing to inflict what they believed to be a potentially fatal shock on another human being, simply because they were ordered to do so by an authority figure. The Milgram experiment ignited a firestorm of controversy. Critics argued that the experiment was unethical because it subjected participants to extreme psychological distress. They pointed to the visible signs of anxiety and tension displayed by the participants during the experiment, including sweating, trembling, and nervous laughter. Milgram defended his work, arguing that the participants were debriefed after the experiment and told the true nature of the study. He also argued that the study's findings were important because they revealed a disturbing truth about human nature. The Debate over the ethics of the Milgram experiment continues to this day, but there is no doubt that the study had a profound impact on the field of psychology. The Milgram experiment had a lasting impact on our understanding of obedience to authority. Conducted in the early 1960s by psychologist Stanley Milgram, the study sought to explore how far individuals would go in obeying instructions from an authority figure, even when those instructions involved inflicting pain on another person. It showed that obedience is not simply a matter of individual personality or disposition, but is also strongly influenced by situational factors. The experiment revealed that ordinary people are capable of committing extraordinary acts when placed under the right conditions. When people are placed in a situation where they are confronted with a powerful authority figure, they are more likely to obey orders, even if those orders conflict with their own moral compass. This finding was both shocking and enlightening, as it challenged the notion that only inherently evil individuals could commit harmful acts. The Milgram experiment also raised important questions about the nature of evil. It forced society to reconsider the roots of malevolent behavior and the potential for cruelty within us all. It suggested that evil is not something that is perpetrated only by a few bad apples, but is something that we are all capable of under the right circumstances. This insight has profound implications for understanding human behavior and the conditions that can lead to atrocities. This realization has profound implications for how we understand and address issues such as genocide, war crimes, and other forms of mass violence. By recognizing the situational factors that can lead to such behavior, we can better develop strategies to prevent these horrors and promote a more just and humane society. The Milgram experiment may have been conducted over half a century ago, but its findings are still relevant today. This groundbreaking study revealed the unsettling ease with which ordinary people could be compelled to commit acts against their conscience simply by following orders from an authority figure. We live in a world where obedience to authority is constantly being tested, from the workplace to the political arena. In our daily lives, we often find ourselves navigating complex hierarchies and power structures, whether it's in our jobs, our communities, or our governments. The rise of social media and the internet has also created new avenues for the spread of misinformation and propaganda. These platforms, while connecting us like never before, also pose significant risks by amplifying voices that seek to deceive and manipulate, making it easier than ever for authority figures to manipulate and control the masses. The digital age has given rise to new forms of influence, where leaders can sway public opinion with a single tweet or post. The lessons of the Milgram experiment serve as a stark reminder that we must always be vigilant in questioning authority and resisting blind obedience. History has shown us time and again that progress often comes from those who dare to challenge the status quo. We must be willing to stand up for what we believe in, even when it is difficult or uncomfortable. Courage and conviction are essential in the face of unjust authority. We must also be critical consumers of information, constantly questioning the sources and motives behind the news we consume. In an era of information overload, discernment is more crucial than ever, and be wary of those who seek to manipulate us through fear, propaganda, or other means. By staying informed and vigilant, we can protect our autonomy and ensure that our actions align with our values. The Milgram experiment teaches us that questioning authority is not only a right but a responsibility. We must be willing to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and demand evidence. We must be skeptical of those who claim to have all the answers and be open to the possibility that we might be wrong. Questioning authority is not about being disrespectful or disobedient for the sake of it. It is about being an active and engaged citizen and taking responsibility for our own actions and the actions of those in power. It is about ensuring that our decisions are based on reason, evidence, and a commitment to justice and human dignity. As we explore the vastness of space and unravel the mysteries of the universe, we must never forget the lessons of the Milgram Experiment. We are all capable of both great good and great evil. The choices we make, the authorities we obey, and the voices we choose to listen to will determine the course of our lives and the fate of our planet. In the words of the great Carl Sagan, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Let us use our knowledge, our compassion, and our courage to create a world where obedience is tempered by reason, and where the pursuit of truth and justice always guides our path.